So the Steam family finally announced their new hardware, and it's pretty amazing. So let's break down exactly what was shown off. But first, if you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you guys for watching, and let's just jump back into it. So, leading up to the Steam hardware releases, I was kind of on the internet, like religiously, just kind of going through different forums on Reddit or getting bits of hints from known, I don't want to say, I don't know if they're leakers, but known industry insiders. And they were constantly mentioning about Valve going to release something that's related to, at the time, we were thinking it was just the Steam frame, which I always thought was really interesting. They had this whole I don't know, Reddit's crazy, like 5-page document just talking about the Steam frame. I was like, good Lord. There's a lot of information there. But I was definitely on that copium hopium train. I was like, if Valve's releasing something, I'm fully on board and interested. I was just all there for the hype train. Most people were kind of about 90% sure that they were going to release some information about the Steam VR system. And then 10 a.m. happened and we got the YouTube video. Well, at first, SteamDB ended up leaking the information of the Steam machine, the Steam frame, and the Steam controller. Knew that that was coming down the line. And then 10 a.m. hit and a YouTube video popped up on Valve's YouTube page. Definitely wasn't just the frame. It was a whole family of hardware that they were announcing that day. I'm going to break down what was shown and then I'll give some final thoughts towards the end. Let's start with the most exciting one. At least for me personally, it was the Steam Machine. So the Steam Machine is basically a Linux small form factor computer that is a living room replacement for kind of consoles, basically. This is their, at least Steam's way of kind of breaking through into the console market. If you and the millions of others remember back in like the 2010s when Steam licensed out their idea to other computer makers like Alienware and ended up making the Steam machines, and how disastrous, or I guess not disastrous, but more so just a nothing burger that just didn't end up happening. It was very interesting. I was kind of on board with it, but it just wasn't the time or place at the moment. Fast forward to Steam Deck, and then they started to build this ecosystem of, big picture mode leading to, upgrades to the OS and upgrades to their Proton system. And then now we're finally here where they can just put a small form factor Linux based PC in your living room and it can just work right out of the box. And I think that that's a great thing. So the Steam machine is a small form factor at only like 6 inches, which is nuts. It's real adorable, and the internet has taken a liking to calling it the Gabe Cube. Honestly, give it a few months, weeks, whenever this releases, I promise you somebody's going to make a handle for it and carry it around and then have a big ass picture of Gabe Newell on the front frame that are customizable. So the Steam machine runs Steam OS like normal. It has a custom made fan that in interviews, the engineers have mentioned that they started with the fan idea and then kind of built the whole system around it. On the back, it has a DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0, one USB-C, and 2 USB 3.0 ports on the front and back. Also has a micro SD card on the front for expandable storage. On the topic of expandable storage, it comes in 2 different sizes, which is the 512 gigabyte and the 2 terabyte. But it's extremely easy to remove the bottom where the M.2 is and just upgrading it that way. It has Wi-Fi 6E built in with Bluetooth 5.3 and it has the Steam controller's wireless adapter built in. Now, we'll come back to that. There's a front LED strip right at the bottom that can be customizable and will do things like show the status of your downloads, which I find really interesting. Like I mentioned before, there's customizable front plates that Valve has mentioned that they will release the 3D specs, I believe, so you can make your own 3D customized front panel. Last, the power supply is built into the system, so you're not having any of this external chunky power supply that most laptops had back in the day, or that have now, I guess. They've also mentioned that this is 6 times more powerful than the current Steam Deck, and it's touting 4K 60 FPS with FSR. Now, with that information, I can honestly say that your mileage may vary because at this current moment, it only has 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM, and you're honestly better off playing games at 1440p or 1080p at that point. And unfortunately, the FSR is just going to be doing the heavy lifting in the end. Valve has also mentioned that they'll be doing like a Steam verification, just like with the Steam Deck. So, but this time it would be a Steam machine. It'll give you whether or not things are verified in the ability to play them or if they're recommended. So they're expanding out that more. And also they've added the Steam frame, which we'll get to soon. Next, we have the Steam controller. Gone are the days of the big 2 circular pads with the 1 joystick right in the middle and the four buttons. I always thought it felt good using tactile pads. It was just formed in such a weird way. This is exactly what I want for my Steam controller. It has HD rumble, grip enabled gyros, has TMR sticks, which basically Valve is saying that these are a better version of Hall effects, and they are using this on the controllers for the Steam frame also. Unfortunately, they did mention that with these new TMR sticks, that they are going to be soldered into the system. So unfortunately, unlike the Steam Deck, there's not a way to hot swap them or repair them yourself. Valve has mentioned that it's very unlikely that it will end up stick drifting, but I mean, only time will tell. Next up, we have the beautiful trackpads. Of course, like I mentioned before, these are going to be amazing additions to your controller, especially if you want to play other non-controller like games like city builders or RTSs. And I think I honestly just really want to try it. Last, for the controller, they are mentioning about a puck. They're calling it a puck. Basically, the puck is a transmitter, but also a wireless charger for your Steam controller. The Steam machine has a built-in antenna for your Steam controller, so you don't need this puck. The puck will be mainly for charging, but I think the use case for this puck would be more so for your computer, so you can have it plugged in, charge it when you need to, and then bring it over to the console, either downstairs or wherever your living room is, and then you just turn it on from there, and it just kind of works. And also to mention that the controller also has Bluetooth, so just in case if you're not using a Steam device, then you could start using other things. Last, let's go over the Steam frame. This is probably the most interesting one. So the Steam frame is a VR headset, the new VR headset. It's less bulky, it's more lightweight, and apparently more comfortable. There's a lot of features in this, and I kind of only want to highlight a few noticeable things, at least for me. First off, the biggest thing for me is that they have this wireless adapter that functions as a stream from your computer to your headset, and it's a dual card that also connects to your Wi-Fi. Another big addition to this is foveated streaming, which basically it means that wherever you are looking on the screen of the VR, there is small cameras that are staring at you to kind of like pinpoint exactly where you are, and then wherever you're looking, they will make that image, that small amount of image, as HD as possible, and then everything around it will be pixelated or blurry, or just like you just won't notice it at all. The main reason for this is to improve the bandwidth and to have less of a bad experience, because everybody can get like the smallest amount of issue can give somebody a head rush or make them feel sick. This will be easier in the headset and cause a lot less hitches. These lenses are pancake lenses that have a resolution of 2160 by 2160 LCD with refresh rates of 72 to 144 hertz. Also, the Steam frame doesn't need to be connected to a computer. It can be run on its own hardware, which is a Snapdragon 8 series processor with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Just like the Steam machine, it will also have a micro SD slot right in the front for expandable storage. They are toting 40 hours on one AA battery per controller, which is a feat on its own. One AA battery for 40 hours. Is that normal? Is that a thing? In the video, they expect some people to use this VR headset as a possible all-in-one entertainment system where you can put on your headset and connect to your Steam Deck or your Steam machine or your computer and just play, you know, your normal games on a massive TV. It's kind of like the Apple Vision, but with less of a background. They don't have color cameras, so everything you'll see on the back end or the background will be black and white. Well, that's everything so far. So my final thoughts on this. Well, the big question for everybody, including myself, is what is going to be the price? If Steam sets itself up as a affordable at-home PC, they can really make waves and cause a lot of stir in the console space. I look at the Steam machine and I try to imagine who's buying this and who's this for. And my thoughts are, this is for the users that are just now getting into the Steam Deck or just now getting into PC gaming and just wants the ability to play it on a home TV away from the computer, especially when you can just turn on your console from your controller, just like a PS5 or an Xbox or a Switch. This is a stake into the console market, and it makes it as easy as possible for people to jump in and start making their own libraries in that system. Yeah, this is one of those things. And Steam has done it again, or has beaten Xbox to its own race. Xbox, PlayStation, they're all trying to vie for this portable system that can jump to different ways of playing the game as easy as possible. And Steam just kind of jumped in on the console market and have already showed up with so much, especially with the Steam Deck and the rumors of PlayStation making their own home console that is a portable, almost like a Switch like. And we're Xbox doing the exact same thing. This is the market, and Steam is said, hey, okay, we're 100% here. We already have the PC market. We're gonna take over the console market now and make it as easy as possible. As for the controller, I'm the market. I'm the person that they sell this controller for. All I need is those trackpads. And all I need is, that's it. That's all I need is the trackpads. I'll take the trackpads alone. As for the VR, it's going to be more of a competitive market, mainly because of the Meta Quest 3S and their chokehold on the lower end VR systems. But I mean, most of the time people are using MetaQuest on Steam. I think that this might just bring more people over into the ecosystem or into the VR space, which at this point is kind of floundering. There's not I mean, the people that are really into VR are really into it, but it's not really expanding out to a lot more people. And like I mentioned before, it all comes down to price. While I don't think a $1,200 Steam frame or a $1,000 Steam machine is out of the question, I just believe that the the ability to adopt a lot bigger influx of people, especially at the forefront, you're definitely going to need to have those prices at a competitive, affordable price. We're talking, at least if I'm setting my guess on the price right now. So, Steam controller, that's maybe $100. Oh, I would like it to be less, but $100 is my guess. Steam frame, right? That one's probably going to be a sub one, a sub 1,000. So maybe like 900, 800. 800's like pushing it. I know 900 is probably my guess. And if you look at this, the Meta Quest 3S, that is $500, and that is crazy hard to beat. But who knows? And then last, the Steam machine will have to be, my guess is that 800 mark. It is not crazy hard software or crazy hard hardware, and it doesn't have like the latest and greatest, but it'll easily get people into the system of Valve and Steam. And so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed going over all of this stuff. I'm really excited to see what Valve has coming up. Maybe next week. We'll see. But I'm excited. I'm definitely going to get that Steam controller on release. The other two I'll be kind of like hit or miss, but I know there'll be good deals eventually in the future. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you guys for hanging out, and yeah, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.